early on in the tournament, with it being this sort of phase one only being 3 days. I'm wanting to see some of these teams really start going out of the way to change up their play style. Go for those maybe early engagements. We know Brazil is a powerhouse with doing that stuff, but as we've already seen, Alpha 7 opting not to do that until it's later in the match, leaving it open for another team, maybe like Wolves or X-Force, who we feel have enough gunpowder to do that. Maybe start looking for those initiations early on instead of leaving it up for other teams to make those decisions on you.
I think if you're towards the bottom, changing things up might not be a bad play. Plenty of days left, plenty of maps left. Maybe you keep things standard for day one, and then as the days progress and you're not happy with your standings, then you start changing things up. In regards to Alpha 7, I don't think they changed things up, and I don't think they really have in the past. There's only been one team, and I think it was SLR, if I'm not mistaken, in fall season that forced Alpha 7 to give up their initial landing spot over in Lipovka, and that was a shock to us. We weren't expecting that. Alpha 7 getting pushed off their landing spot, it was unheard of. But it happened. This time around, no one has been strong enough to dethrone them for first place, but more importantly, force them to change up their strategy. And it goes back to what Seven was saying, that 2-2 split. Like, they're disrespecting the lobbies at times and pushing fights and winning fights. Quite honestly, any other team wouldn't win. So that's just Alpha 7 for you. But for other rosters, yeah, change things up. But today, I think just go to your bread and butter, continue to see if it works. It does it. Day 2, always a chance to change things up, Seven.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how some of these teams are going to be able to readjust tomorrow when we come in, right? They're going to be able to see, okay, Alpha 7, first circle, they always tend to push towards the middle of the zone if favorable. So that's something that some of the other teams that are going to be able to adjust. Remember, I think it was the first Erangel where we saw Alpha 7 push towards the center of the circle, and it was only just one player of 9C that just got caught off guard, not expecting anybody to make that push. But those are little things here and there that, with at least with time, right, within the first stage that we're going to be playing here, maybe some of the other teams will be able to catch on those little patterns from some teams that they're going to be doing, whether it's rotations, whether it's going to be pushes, whatever the case might be. We'll see how they're going to be adjusting. One team that's currently trying to adjust is All Glory Gaming, because with this circle, okay, I'm liking this circle, boys. I know we got a chance to see it earlier on, but right now we're not having an insane amount of water, and we do have military and the main island at play as well.
You know what the switch up needs to be? You're talking about this Millie Island and all this stuff. We need it like NA from Titan series. We bring in everyone into a hovercraft and no one's able to shoot you out of it. You start running people over. You remember that, Taylor? X-Force won a match. It had to have been, what, 10 eliminations off hovercrafts alone. And then slaughtering Wolves late game in a 4v4. It was Cinema 7. You have to go back and watch it, because I was expecting our NA boys to honestly stick with that strategy. They were making the hovercraft look like the BDRM from the flare drop in game. If you ever played the pubs and you shoot the flare out of the zone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the vehicle where you can go across the land and water. You don't have to struggle one bit. And with it being, if it gets blown up, that's a whole wall in front of you to block you from shots. So I'm really hoping, to be honest, that we see more hovercraft plays.
Me too.
Sorry, I cut you guys off, because AGG, with one of their players was in it. I think that's what we're needing. NA on top with the hovercraft.
Did you see any of that? I don't know if you did, man, but did you? Dude, the hovercraft was just nutty during the Titan series. Like, that was the craziest things I've ever seen, to the point where literally during, I think, the rest of the Titan series that we watched, hovercrafts were always in the narrative and always being used on the North American side.
Yeah, so I didn't see that one exactly, the one that you guys are talking about, but especially for last PMGC, I did see some teams that Maxman and I were kind of just pointing out, were saying, okay, that team, it was in a specific team. I can't think of my mind right now, but they would use at least 2 hovercrafts, and when we would get towards the later stages of the circle, they wouldn't mind blowing it up and just using it as cover, because you don't really have to worry about a team shooting below it like they can in vehicles. It would actually become a liable source for them just to cover themselves, and then they would end up positioning in an L shape as well. So if some of these teams can start doing this year, it would be interesting to see if people are going to be able to pick up on it.
Yeah, it was crazy to say the least.
In Silo, by the way. In Silo for PMGC.
In Silo? Okay.
Yep.
Dude, I want to see more of it, because I think it's super valid. And I will say it's super smart to destroy it and use it as cover. We didn't see that utilized at all. It was more so just about running over people, staying alive as long as possible. But blowing it up, using it for cover is super intelligent. Very high-level play, and to be expected from the players at this caliber. Hovercrafts, they're great when you can get them, and they're devastating on military islands with those open spaces and hilltops. That's where they were utilized the best from the North American side. But stage 1 closing in just a minute. Team Liquid has transitioned from military. They separate themselves from AGG. They will be relatively close to 9Z, but nothing's taken place there just yet. Influence Rage is moving in onto loops. You also have Ro, who's going to be there, and then S2S, who's going to be just up ahead of them. So Nick near Pochiki is getting pretty active. Several teams next to each other, still enough distance where things aren't going to be exploding just yet. But I am highly expecting things to get a bit spicy. Next Influence Rage, Ro, Loops, potentially X-Force. There's some activity developing.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be one of the Intense Gaming players getting knocked. Some of these squads, Intense Game being one of them, Wolves Esports, even VG holding some sort of spread across the map. They're one of those teams that was able to get in early on the stage 1 circle shift. But if you're Intense Game, if you're not prepared for a 4-man sending you, you're going to lose a player early on, and that would be United for Gaming picking up that early freebie elimination up. I believe it was on Potato Hill. They're up on that northeastern side, but oh man, the circle shift all the way back down southwest. 9Z Globen loving themselves right now. They've essentially been 2 for 2 at this compound here, 7, taking the same spot, not switching it up, getting rewarded both times. You love to see it.
Now for Team Liquid, I mean, I'm gonna have to do and see something out of this. As Influence Rage, she says, you know what, we're just gonna make a full push here towards 9C Globen and try to catch him off guard like Alpha 7 was able to catch him earlier. There's only gonna be one player right there close by. Lorison having to slow down his roll though, as that Molotov is close by. Now everybody else from 9C is gonna start pushing up. They know currently where everybody else is at. Reyes trying to stay alive. Diego is gonna go down. Can Influence Rage pick him up? As Reyes trying to make the push there. Law is gonna connect with that grenade and eliminate him.
All right, Influence Rage looking good, trying to stay up as long as they can. Fighting a good fight, and they need to at least finish this very quickly because everybody is moving in. Wancho is going to scout out the area. He might call Wolves, go in for the third party. You got another roster, United for Gaming, who's also moving into this territory, but all eyes on Milos. Milos had some great plays just previously, managed to secure a 3rd place for 9Z on Erangel. Map number 3, he's trying to secure the off angle. Kogoat Remix on the outside looking in. Influence Rage have total control of the shed just up ahead. They've got the cars used for cover. Obviously, they're going to be just behind the boxes. Kogoat throws a miracle nade. He'll connect onto Lawrenson for a little bit of damage, but not enough to drop him. And through the smoke, does Lawrenson go for a bit of a flank around the shed? I don't know if that's going to be the smartest play, but no, he holds what he's got. He will be on the outside. Potentially could take Milos off guard, but this is going to stalemate a little bit longer. Neither team wants to fully commit, and for Influence Rage or 9C, why give up your hardcover POI? There's no reason.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they both lost a player early on. I thought it was going to be just Influence Rage getting full wiped, but then I believe Reyes from 9Z just crumbling under the pressure, trying to make that cross, immediately getting fragged out. And unfortunately, that was right at the time where Remix got a beautiful off-angle knock onto Influence Rage, so just really unfortunate stuff. Both squads wasting virtually all of their utility across that warehouse, even just pushing up, trying to find the angles, realizing, hey guys, it's stage 2. We need to relax. We're fine sharing the compound. This is going to be that dead center spot. And you were thinking it was going to be Juancho Taylor pulling up maybe for that third-party action. It's going to actually be United for Gaming coming in with X-Force farther down on that western side. But a lot of these teams, it's kind of a repeat of last game. They're opting not to play anywhere near the fields. The edge is where the congestion is happening, and now we're starting to see the shots rain down, because if the whole center of the zone is open, if you're not able to play it, that means the edge is going to be a fight for spots.
Team Liquid against Savage. Mythic's managed to drop 1. Mythic a little bit low in health, but here comes the Cavalry. They're moving in to finish off this Savage roster, and they will do so. Well done. I would have been very heartbroken if Team Liquid loses that fight this early on, as they have done in the previous maps, but this time around, all guns blazing. and they maintain their position. Wolves will move in. Chief needs to potentially join them. He'll call out that Wolves going to be just up ahead of them, but they haven't crashed into the building just yet. So for the meantime, Team Liquid can recover and heal up. Influence Rage 9Z still at a bit of a standstill. That's going to be exploding relatively soon, but again, no reason to push out of the shed. If you're Influence Rage, no reason for 9C Globin to pull out. But hold up, we've got a bit of a run over as the team has moved it onto Loops. And Loops might be in a bit of trouble here, and they will be. And of course, it's going to be Vias Gaming. Every time we switch over to Vias Gaming, it's pure chaos, and they're typically the team instituting that Chaos 7.
The team that you've been talking about, and the team that currently has a hovercraft as well. Vias Gaming taking care there of Loops. So if we were wondering if Loops was going to be able to pass Alpha 7 after this match, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer and see what happens when we end up going to Miramar. Influence Rage, though, meanwhile, they have made a bit of a peace treaty here between themselves and 9C. They're keeping an eye on everybody else. By the way, I do enjoy that Team Liquid was able to take care of that squad earlier on in Gas Station, but now 9C is starting to make the push. Meanwhile, as well, Inco Gaming versus Roll starting to fight each other. Roll coming out on top here, and they have able to spot Brunosen. Can they be able to connect with them? Brunosen currently waiting patiently. Is the last player alive? He is going to get spotted. Can he connect with a grenade, or is it going to be a Row 19 connecting with the grenade first? And there you go. Inco Gaming eliminated by Row 19, and Row 19 still having all their 4 players alive.
Yeah, not even one of them being knocked. It looked like maybe Inco Gaming full sent to the center of the compound, having them just get shot in the back by that solo player holding forward from Royals of War. And it's a big interaction there because this is the compound on that far northern side of the circle. It's able to get you that rotation to the mountaintop to start scoping out the field, because at some point, if this circle keeps centering up, you're going to have to start playing in the open, those hay bales. That Alpha 7 strat that we saw in that first Erangel match, you got to put it to the test yourself. And fortunately for Royals of War, with them not getting knocked, they're able to start scouting forward a bit more in their eyes. But unfortunately, in 10's game, they're ahead of them. They're getting just in front of them to get those rotations early on. And with there being only 15 seconds left on the circle pop, a lot of these teams, I feel, are going to be struggling to find their next spot in the zone.
I'm super curious if Chief and Cardozo from Team Liquid are going to gatekeep AGG, who is now fighting against Papa Blue, but going across the left side bridge. Chief already cooking a nade. He throws it out, doesn't connect onto anything, but that's okay. AGG stays alive, and, well, really, for the remaining players in the vehicles, have to make a decision. Do we crash in and stay together, or do we split? Well, no, they're going to stay together, and Cardozo is just off in Narnia by himself, but luckily Ayula, Mythic are going to be moving in alongside that of Chief. So yeah, this is going to be a 4v4 fight on the left side bridge, and Mythic is down because Wolves are going in for the third party.
And that allowed Team Liquid was about to start rotating, and for those 2 players still being there so close to the bridge, it forced the other 2 players to kind of slow down and back up a little bit. Now Chief is gonna try to fend off here the push from AGG, and as you were mentioning, Wolves was close by Gas Station as well, trying to make a push towards them too, but AGG is gonna start just raining down grenades, seeing if they can connect with anything here, or if Chief can maybe connect with one, he's gonna be able to. There goes one knock. Who's still alive from his team is gonna be Ayala and Cardozo. Can they possibly get an angle, or can he maybe connect with another grenade here and secure the elimination? It's not gonna end up happening, but all this utility use, it could end up backfiring for this teammate and for this squad later into the match, as AGG is just looking to get these angles and moving around. Chief, meanwhile, throwing nades as many as he can, and he's currently sitting out at 0 as his squad is just starting to back up, and AGG is just wrapping around him.
They have to. They've got to get out of there. But how do you get through Wolves? Coops, you noticed, or at least I noticed, he was hanging around on the left-hand side of this fight between Chief and AGG, scouting the horizons. Ayala has gone fully north to separate himself and potentially play as a solo. Cardozo is also by himself. Chief is still in the building in Papa Blue, and AGG has disengaged. No matter which way you look at it, Wolves is definitely the strongest team leaving this engagement. AGG, they're going to be very healthy, but Team Liquid are very split, Enigma.
Yeah, this is kind of a rare instance where you've seen Team Liquid not as a squad in rotation. I think it was an all save yourself kind of scenario. We're talking you're not even getting a placement point if you get eliminated here. And Chief, he's taking a lot of damage in that vehicle, close to being blown up. And Wolves, they found out where he's at. They're looking for the fight. Cardoza and at least a freebie. In their eyes, Chief having to really just struggle with a lot of these rotations. Team Liquid, thankfully, it actually looks like Ayala doubled back in front of 9Z, being able to group on the southern edge of the circle. But for Team Liquid, man, even with AGG as well, both those squads of mine, I thought were just going to be eliminated by the Wolves format.
Well, X-Force took down a couple from AGG, so they're in shambles too. It seems like everybody in that fight on the left side bridge, minus Wolves, but they were a bit disengaged. They were just trying to third-party any easy elims they could, and they did. But for AGG Team Liquid, they almost cannibalize each other, and on their rotation out, they get picked apart by one roster or another. And for AGG, they might be done and dusted depending on how this fight against X-Force ends up unfolding. Team Liquid miraculously stays alive. Wolves have moved in onto 9Z. Wolves will lose a couple of players, but ultimately find success. 9Z in a fight against Influence Rage for the longest time in that shed. Finally, it unfolds. They will lose their lives, and Wolves will continue their dominating force up ahead. And for X-Force, well, they'll take on HD, but at what cost? 24K is down. Teams who are fighting on the fringe of Blue 7 are falling like flies.
Wonder if he might be able to put him in the vehicle and then try to get out of there. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do here. Actually, he might be a little too far away. Yeah, that's going to be too far away. If he maybe by the vehicle, it would have worked out. But this might be a bit of a push there for Esport. I do got to give him props, though. They didn't end up... Oh, no, Fate. Don't do this. Okay, I thought it was going to be a bit of a miscalculation there, trying to pick him up. Didn't end up working. I thought he was going to end up getting knocked as well. But I was going to say, for X-Force, it is a bit of a learning situation here. In the last match, we saw them get absolutely crashed on from behind by Inco Gaming, I believe it was. On this one, they kind of learned their lessons to keep eyes everywhere, to keep that awareness up. And they didn't allow any of those teams to crash. And meanwhile, Alpha 7, even though they currently have 0 eliminations, they are currently within a building and playing that edge that we're known for. And Wolves, I gotta give them props, Enigma. Wolves played that out so well earlier. I really enjoyed that they decided to continue making the push there on Team Liquid, hunting them down.
Yeah, they took on that 1 or 2 players from Team Liquid. They turned their sights to the compound that 9Z was residing, which, by the way, they actually were the squad that I believe eliminated Influence Rage earlier on. So that 3v3 fight did commence. Was just straight up fighting for Wolves. And for Wolves, it's good signs. They still have 4 players up, I believe. They've got a few eliminations under their belt. Actually, excuse me, make it 3 now on this land. But having 4 elims, you've got a spot in zone. If you're able to at least weather the storm, I guess you could say, in this next circle shift, you should be able to get yourself into a prime real estate spot. But the more I'm seeing this from the free cam, I'm kind of stressing a bit. No vehicles, it seems, almost, or at least nothing that's going to be useful after this next rotation. And you're having to stress. I mean, look at this. Coops not even having armor or helmet really to his name, but we're going to have to switch it up, 7. Shoot to survive, just taking the full brunt of X-Force. Valak trying to be the last one alive, but Bob finds him in the grass, finding the snake, and unfortunately for them now, having to deal with the third party.
Third party there by VIP, by the way, in regards to with Wolves, with how much utility they're using here, I'm hoping they're going to do something about it because they are still outside of this circle. So I know you got those buggies. I know you got those vehicles. Yeah, you might end up... Oh, okay, you're going to go for the fix. That's smart. I like that. I really like that there from Juancho. Use that utility that you've been working with, all those smokes, and try to find a way within that circle as they're still trying to get the fight there with row 19. Meanwhile, VIP Esports, we saw them earlier trying to get into a fight, into a third-party situation, but now having to slow it down as Alpha 7 is close by.
Yeah.
So many opportunities here for crashes just from a lot of teams. Reflections.
I appreciate that VIP didn't fire at Alpha 7 because they get an engagement early on with Alpha 7. Then they have to worry about shoot to survive. Just not a good spot to be in. They could get pincered very quickly. So instead, VIP decides to be a little bit quiet. They do get active, but they're focusing on the right team. I think focusing on shoot to survive here not only is theoretically a little bit easier than Alpha 7, but you're also taking the players out from behind you, and then you could just simply focus on Alpha 7 up ahead. But shoot to survive, they'll give VIP a chance. They're taking the bull by the horns and pushing for themselves. Frady will fall, but so will Bob. Shoot to survive, losing 1. And I believe this is a 3v3 now. Casper cooking up a nade. Does it go through the window? That would be beautiful. And it does hit Legend. Ayuya will also fall. Legend down to a sliver of health. And shoot to survive from the outside of the house have managed to utilize their utility well enough to the point where they now feel confident to push in and finish VIP, and they're going to do exactly that. The smoke will make things a bit confusing, but Dark Light, no worries. Unconvinced, he's
Alpha
pushing
7.
in, but no, he bit up more than he can chew. He gets pincered in between two players in the building. Now Casper forced to push in. He's going to have to do so weak, and believe it or not, Shoot to Survive will lose because Alpha 7 House now moved in for the third party. They'll take down not only Shoot to Survive, but also VIP. The Grim Reapers take down two teams just like that.
Talk about a switch there from Alpha 7, playing patiently for the right time. As soon as they saw the opening, they ended up getting that player that was knocked back up, and they went exactly for that push, for that third party, and worked out wonders for them. 4 easy eliminations in a way between that third party, and they don't end up losing anybody, Enigma.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I really got a question. As soon as you see that circle pop as a S2S player, why are we not calming to maybe rotate north? We saw the map. No one was holding that mountaintop on that northern side of the circle. It was completely free, but maybe getting that first initial knock, they could have backed up afterwards, but instead, full sending forward. And as soon as we start seeing the trades right on the building, Alpha 7 was able to get their player up that was knocked. It's just a free, clean wipe for Alpha 7. And that's not the team you're wanting to get another win under the belt, because we see it on the right there. 49 total points already as a squad. We are going into just 2 Miramars after this. This is a team that is consistently putting up those fragging power numbers, those eliminations that we expect from a squad, but we want it to be other teams as well. It can't be just, I don't want to be playing the same broken record here of Alpha 7, Alpha 7, Alpha 7, and we're only on the first day. We need to be seeing signs of life from the NA boys, from Latam, from these other teams. Everyone's on blast in my mind.
Well, Reflections, you had a question coming into this match. Can anybody get that back, that 2 wins today? Right now, if we were to pick anybody, I'm going to be picking this team that we're currently looking at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alpha 7 well ahead of the game. But I am getting excited for Royals of War. But
yes.
I reflect back, and I believe they've been in this spot before where they were 4 strong, deep into like the final teams in this case, right? Top 5, and everything fell apart very quickly for them. Hoping that's not the case in this moment. It would be incredibly exciting to see Royals of War earn a victory and ultimately have 4 different winners throughout the day. And for Royals of War, this could be massive for them to jump up from 10th place, potentially into top 5, maybe even further into top 3 if they can successfully close out this game and stay strong with the eliminations. And it's top 3 is going to happen, right? Because United for Gaming only has 1 player left. That's going to be Hate. He's out there in Papa Blue. He's out there in really no man's land. So all eyes have to be on Alpha 7 and Royals of War. And then you focus on Vios Gaming, but they're kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place. They're right in the middle of Alpha 7, Royals of War, and then Hate is also just behind them. So yeah, Royals of War, can they fend off Alpha 7? Well, after losing a player, I'm starting to doubt a bit, Enigma.
Yeah, it's always a matter of if they're able to kind of piece themselves a knock or two. We can see a lot of those best teams, those world-class rosters, I guess you could say. They can make the most, even if it's just 2 players alive. The solo is a bit of a stretch, but a 3-man is definitely what you can expect. At least put up a fight against a team like Alpha 7, even though they have the man advantage. And unfortunately for this, unfortunately for the solo, Revo's been eyeing him, it seems, for his zone or 2. So that's going to be a freebie. 8 eliminations, now 5 on to Revo. And this is a team, you know, that obviously you've been talking about a lot, but shout out to Royals of War and VG being able to put up numbers themselves. And Royals of War actually 7 eliminations to their name. If they can somehow piece together 1 or 2 eliminations going into this circle shift, they could be setting themselves up for success, but it doesn't seem like it. Alpha 7 going to take their sweet time trying to get the thirst onto Marlin here. Demeanor able to actually cross squash though onto one of the Royals of War players. Alpha 7 is putting pressure to both teams right now.
That's
my
GG,
goodness.
dude. I have faith for Royals of War set. I think Alpha 7 is just too good at the moment. I mean, my lord, they're at 9. Revo's at 6. He's gonna end with 20 eliminations for the day, brother.
I love it. Keep it going, please. But not only do it today, do it tomorrow as well. Because for these teams, I just want to see consistency. And right now, this is just them flexing right here. This is them just getting to the vehicles and in a way, just kind of being a little bit disrespectful to some of the other teams. Draw 19 saying, you know what? You can get into a vehicle. We'll get into a vehicle too. You want to get into a race? You don't want to do this, Alpha 7, but Royals of War, just slow your roll, all right? I know you got 7 eliminations, but this is not an ego racing you want to get with when it comes to Alpha 7. Alpha 7 does end up taking care there of one player when it goes down to VO's Gaming, and they're just being patient. Right now, they have everything to work with, and you can look at the map right there. Ladies and gentlemen, might as well just wrap it up unless Row 19 can do something insane here.
They're hoping they can, especially if you're a fan of him. I'm looking at Demonor, and I'm just feeling so bad for the guy. He's laying prone. He's trying his best just to stay as quiet as humanly possible. Alpha 7 is just up above. They're just destroying every vehicle in their line of sight. Like, Demonor, I feel terrible for the guy, but that's how it goes. His best case scenario is second place, and that could become a reality. Royals of War taking a bull by the horn. They're pushing up, and we do have an off angle from David. Alpha 7 continuing to fall. Royals of War taking the game from Alpha 7 potentially, but no worries. Squash, the new addition to this Alpha 7 roster, looking to be the hero, and he will be. Royals of War will finish, and it is Alpha 7 versus the last remaining player of Vios, and he won't last long. Alpha